explainer. Today, we're diving into some massive news. Apple finally fixed texting with Android? Well, kinda. Look, for years, this whole digital divide between iPhone and Android users has been, honestly, a massive headache. You know the pain, right? Broken group chats, videos that look like they were literally filmed on a potato, and of course, that infamous green bubble stigma. We have all been there. So when iOS 26 dropped, Apple promised to end the war. But did they really? Did Apple actually fix the divide? That is the million-dollar question everyone's been asking since September. I mean, the update promised to bridge the gap, bringing this modern messaging standard to the iPhone so it finally played nicely with Android. It was supposed to be this huge moment of relief. But as we start digging into the actual data, you'll see exactly why iPhone texting still feels way worse than Android in certain cross-platform situations. It's easily one of the most fascinating tech stories of the year. We were all hoping for a flawless truce, right? Just seamless, secure texting straight out of the box. But the reality? Oh man, it is unencrypted, it's buggy, and it is totally at the mercy of your cell carrier. Your iPhone has this fancy new tech right now, but there's a really massive catch we need to talk about. Now, on the surface, the RCS hype was completely justified. It finally kicks those ancient SMS and MMS protocols to the curb. We get high-resolution photos and videos, those little typing indicators in group chats we all love, and actual read receipts across platforms. It looks like a huge win, filling in just a ton of basic functionality we've desperately been missing. But here's the kicker. Your iPhone has RCS right now, but most people don't notice this massive hidden trap. While those high-res photos look absolutely amazing, and you can finally see when your Android buddy is typing, what you can't see is a critical flaw with your digital privacy. It's this invisible vulnerability, and honestly, security analysts are sounding the alarm over it. You see, while the new iOS 26 RCS perfectly matches iMessage for high-res media and read receipts, it completely drops the ball on the most crucial feature, end-to-end encryption. iMessage has it, old-school SMS didn't, and shockingly, the initial iOS 26 RCS doesn't have it either. It entirely left out the encryption that actually protects your private data from prying eyes. Crazy, right? To understand why this happened, we've got to look under the hood at the technology itself. Basically, Apple adopted something called Universal Profile 2.4. Now, this is the official standard created by the GSMA. That's the group overseeing global mobile networks. The catch? Universal Profile 2.4 does not natively support end-to-end encryption, and Apple strictly stuck to this baseline standard, totally ignoring outside extensions that could have kept your messages locked down. And this leads to a pretty fascinating standoff between two tech giants. See, Google's approach on Android was to use a proprietary extension they built themselves to encrypt these RCS texts. But Apple completely refused Google's extension. They decided to wait for the GSMA to release an official universally encrypted standard, like the upcoming Profile 3.0. Because these two couldn't agree on a shared encryption method, everyday users like us were ironically left totally exposed in the crossfire. The tech analysts over at ALP3D summed up the danger perfectly. They pointed out that RCS messages sent from iOS 26 are not encrypted. They're totally visible to carriers and law enforcement requests, unlike iMessage or Signal. So those initial RCS texts you sent to your Android friends may be containing family photos or private jokes. Yeah, they were fundamentally just as readable to outside parties as an open postcard passing through the mail. Let that sink in. So what does this mean for you? Well, it means you've got to change your texting habits if your phone isn't fully updated. Whether it's a password, financial data, or sensitive personal details, you absolutely must treat early cross-platform RCS texts with extreme caution. Until you are 100% certain your connection is encrypted, please do not send sensitive information over this bridge. Okay, take a breath, because there is some good news on the horizon, and it comes in the form of this number, 26.5. Thankfully, Apple released the iOS 26.5 update in May 2026 to essentially act as a giant band-aid for this glaring privacy gap. This update finally brings that missing piece of the puzzle, but, and this is a big but, it requires you to actively make sure your phone is actually using it. So here is exactly how you fix it. Once you're updated to iOS 26.5, just dive right into your settings, find Messages, and tap on RCS messaging. You're looking for a brand new toggle called End-to-End Encryption Beta. Go ahead and check it right now to make sure you aren't broadcasting your private texts in plain sight. Once you've done that, the real test happens right inside your chat window. Keep an eye out for a little lock icon at the very top of your messages thread when you're texting an Android user. If you see that tiny lock symbol, you can finally breathe a sigh of relief. It means your cross-platform conversation is shielded, secure, and fully private. However, even with this 26.5 fix, there is a pretty annoying catch. Apple officially labels this encryption as a beta feature. And why is that? Well, because it heavily relies on your specific cell carrier playing along. It's rolling out gradually over several months. That means you and your friend could both be fully updated, but if one of your carriers is dragging its feet, it still won't work. It's just a frustrating patchwork solution while the whole industry sits around waiting for full Universal Profile 3.0 support. So texting is fixed. Kinda. But honestly, this messy, fragmented RCS rollout is really just a symptom of a much larger disease infecting iOS 26. Beyond this whole green bubble truce, everyday users are finding out that the core software running their iPhones is surprisingly volatile, and it's leading to some widespread frustration. A massive culprit behind all this instability is Apple's brand new visual redesign known as Liquid Glass. It uses real-time ray marking to simulate actual physical glass refraction right on your screen. And yeah, it is absolutely gorgeous, but the toll it takes on your hardware, it's massive. We are talking severe overheating on flagship devices like the iPhone 17 Pro Max, rapid battery drain as your phone constantly calculates all these crazy light refractions, and virtual keyboards that just stutter exactly when you need them most. Which brings us to a frankly staggering number: 10. That is the sheer amount of software patches Apple has had to push out since September just to keep iOS 26 functioning. 10 separate patches to fix things like disappearing icons, super slow Face ID, and sluggish animations. Tech analysts have understandably been highly critical of this whole cycle. Macworld actually hit the nail on the head, noting that the problem isn't a lack of innovation, it's that the experience just doesn't feel as reliable as the hardware it runs on. While their competitors are racing ahead with super reliable features, Apple seems totally stuck, releasing endless updates just to fix basic core functions that used to work effortlessly for millions of us. Which leaves us with one massive, lingering question to think about. Considering Apple has practically infinite resources, is leaving RCS in this buggy, carrier-dependent state just a simple engineering failure? Or could it be a highly calculated business strategy to keep iMessage on top? What do you think?